What on earth is happening? What is going on? Another weekend of Six Nations rugby is done. Just finished the last game of the weekend. France against Italy. Full-time whistle has blown. Here are my initial reactions following the game. Unfiltered. And to be honest, it's going to take me a little bit of time to order my thoughts following that one. Spoiler alert, the result is coming. If you don't know it, well, you've only got yourself to blame now. 13 points all. A draw for Italy, but I mean, that sounds great, doesn't it? But it's a draw that's going to feel like a defeat because of the manner of the end of the game. Absolutely wild match, wild atmosphere. But let's just start at the very end. I'll tell you what's going on here. This Six Nations is being written by the Netflix producers for the next series of the show, the Six Nations documentary series. That's clearly what's going on. Because if you said, like if you roped in a Hollywood screenwriter and said, right, look, we need to get more ratings. Can you just write a script and tell us what's going to happen? That's what would happen. How did that happen? It's a stadium with the roof on. There was no wind. Unless there was like 30,000 people in one stand all blowing at the same time, synchronised. How did that ball fall over with 10 seconds left on the shot clock? Oh, the drama. Oh, I felt so sorry for Paolo Garbisi. And one thing I just want to mention at the very start, while we're talking goal kicking, because that one will haunt him, do not forget he nailed that touchline conversion after the Capowazzo try. And mind you, that would have only meant Italy were 2 down, so they would have... Yeah, anyway, he got the points that would have drawn. That will sting. That will hurt. And will they get a better chance? That would have been such a statement. We'll get on to France in a minute. And by the way, if you appreciate the channel, if you love your rugby, give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and leave your comments down below. What did you make of that? What do you make of Italy? What do you make of France? It's kind of hard to make sense of. Let me go back to the very start. Firstly, I'm really glad that I made the effort to get up this morning and get out of Edinburgh and get back home to Manchester so that I could watch that game. I got back with about half an hour before the match, and so I was able to settle in and watch it, and I'm really glad I did. It was quite tough getting out of bed this morning, I'll be honest, but great day in Edinburgh yesterday. So glad I got back and watched that game. It was wild. And so the situation with France going around to all these different stadiums, I love it. I think they've accidentally struck upon a genius idea. Now, it's partly because there's the Olympic Games in Paris later this year, and apparently there's some things which need to be organised. Although really, I don't understand how games at the Stade de France that had World Cup games there only a few months ago, why the Olympics being there in like July, why that's going to have any impact really on this Six Nations. What I understand to be the case, although maybe they're not admitting it now, is that this taking the Six Nations around France, Marseille and Lyon and now Lille, what I understand to be the case is that what they wanted to do was basically take the Rugby World Cup on a bit of a victory lap of the country, which did not happen, obviously. And that, I think, tells a story. Because if that is true, and I believe that to be the case, if that is the case, then that just tells you how much France felt like the Rugby World Cup was destiny for them. And it just gives you another little sense at just how painful being knocked out by South Africa by 1 point in that quarter-final was. They have not got over it. I've mentioned this before on the channel. I was there in France. The energy just went out of the World Cup in France the day after. It was suddenly there were people just not interested. All those posters of Antoine Dupont and Gregory Aldrit and the like, Penaud, just, I don't know, they just suddenly seemed grey and not quite as colourful. And I really don't think France have got over it yet. They're not right, are they? They're not right. But on the actual... Oh yeah, I was talking about the stadiums. Going around, it's been brilliant. The atmosphere in Marseille is amazing for that island game. Lille, the noise. I didn't go there during the World Cup, but when I spoke to people that had been to games at the Lille Stadium, they said it was awesome. With the roof on, loved it. Although, when the roof's on, maybe ease back a little bit on the pyrotechnics, yeah? It was like playing in thick fog for the first few minutes. The brass band was ace. The Marseillaise, oh my goodness me. That was one of the highlights of watching France out in France during the World Cup as I did. And That was a very special rendition of the national anthem, wasn't it? In fact, those are two of the best national anthems in rugby, the Italian and the French. But the French, just like I was at Murrayfield yesterday, and just like when the bagpipes stop, when the music stops and it's just the crowd singing the song, it's very, very special, isn't it? Really good. Yeah, so then we actually get into the game itself, once the smoke had cleared. And before I talk about France being poor, I think it's really important to credit Italy. I mean, I think there's some criticisms you can definitely fire Italy's way, but when you think back to the World Cup and they were so easy to beat, so easily broken down, and they didn't seem to just have heart or fight in them. They've got heart and they've got fight. And the defensive effort from Italy demonstrated that in spades. They were heroic defensively. And yes, with 14 men, I'll come on to the red card for Jonathan Donty in a minute, but against 14 men, you can say it's easier to keep a score down, but to keep France at home to 13 points, not many teams do that. Not many teams do that. And that is absolutely to Italy's credit. And Gonzalo Quesada has come into Italy, who got pumped by France by 60 odd points and 90 against New Zealand. It's like ridiculous scores at the World Cup. And in a short space of time, he has given this Italian team some steel. And I think a lot of that is psychological. It's just mental. But whatever he's doing on that front is fantastic. And if they can... Weirdly, Italy before were, under Crowley, were great attack, shocking defence. Now they've got a great defence and the attack went AWOL a little bit today. If they can pull those two things together, maybe. And it's important to point out the French under-20s team, who are the world champions, they won the World Championship, they lost to Italy under-20s. So maybe there are some signs that what everybody wants for a competitive, consistently competitive Italian team, maybe it is actually happening. Although, are they ever going to get a better opportunity to win? Just on the kick, by the way, Garbisi's kick. Did you think that a French player kind of... he didn't charge, but he took a couple of steps forward, and that might have been justification for Christophe Ridley to say, hold on a minute, set it up, kick again, you get back. I don't know if there's anything Garbisi could have done differently with that one. It was the perfect end, just a bit of a farce. And I just felt so cruel because Zuliani's face after he actually managed to get that turnover, it was, you could, I'll be honest, I wanted Italy to win just because it would have been a great story. But it's such an Italian way to to not quite win. Oh, dearie me. Right, let me talk about the game then. So France started quite brightly. Their big men punching some holes. Boudon with the break, he lifted it to Olivon. On the try, it's one of those situations where, I mean, if I was a Scotland fan, I'd be looking at that and going, you gave him a try last week. Sorry, you didn't give us a try last week, and you're giving Olivon the try today. Looked like a hint of a knock-on. I actually think, for what it's worth, that Christophe Ridley probably refereed it right, but arguably it was the wrong decision, which I know that doesn't seem to make sense, but anyway, France got off with another one again there, didn't they? What else can you say about France? What is it? Can you put your finger on... I asked the question last night in the video that I did after I'd walked back from Murrayfield. Can you put your finger on what England are trying to do? Same goes. Can you put your finger on what is not quite working for France? Because I think, as always, these things are small margins, but do you know what my thought is? And I'm thinking this after I've seen Shaun Edwards give his post-match interview. I think all's not well behind the scenes among the coaching staff and the belief of the players in what Galtier and his coaches are doing. So Galtier's made a load of changes to his coaching staff, and clearly things haven't bedded in, and they had a really good thing going before. But it was the fact that Shaun Edwards said, I don't know if you noticed it, he was asked, can you put your finger on what's happening? Well, Topsy Ojo asked him the question that I'm asking you. Can you explain what's going on with France? And Shaun Edwards' response I thought was really interesting. He said, well, the defence is really good. What's Shaun Edwards in charge of? The defence. That said to me, that is a guy that feels under pressure and feels like his job might be on the line. And if you're a coach that feels like your job might be on the line, then I think that hints that all is not well in the French camp. It could just be as simple as the World Cup hangover. It could be as simple as new coaches and systems haven't bedded in. I think it might be a mixture of all of those. And obviously no Antoine Dupont. But it's just interesting that and obviously no Untermack and Gelonch and Flamont. And they've got some big players that aren't there. But it's the fact that I looked at another little indicator, little warning sign or light, whatever. Yeah, anyway, little warning bell, to use another analogy, that was going off in my head was when I saw Damien Penaud like whinging at the ref. Because he's a guy that just plays the game with a smile on his face. And he tries things and sometimes they come off, sometimes they don't come off. But you don't often see Damien Penaud cutting a really frustrated figure. And so that indicates maybe all is not well in camp as well. Or at least they're starting to feel the tension, starting to feel the pressure, and it can ratchet it up. And I mean, we've seen it before with French teams, kind of implode psychologically as much as anything. They've clearly got unreal talent. They just can't put it together on the pitch. Second red card in 3 games for France. Discipline, I mean, that's not going to help, is it? What do you think about the red card? I can kind of go, okay, fine. It was a red card. Also, there's Ange Capozzo with his try. I'll get to that in a minute. I was getting to oh well. Anyway, I thought I had more. I thought I had a picture of the red card. On the red card for Jonathan Donty, I will say I would have been happy with the yellow card, and I'm kind of okay with the red card. I think the first contact was on the body, so maybe you could argue that would have given an opportunity for mitigation. But then again, he was upright, so maybe that means he doesn't get the luxury of mitigation. The one thing I will say on this is I think that was a clear enough picture on the screen for Christophe Ridley to give the yellow card, send him to the bunker. I think it was enough for Christophe Ridley to have looked at it on the screen and made a decision. And his decision. He's the referee. He's the most qualified person in that stadium. He's the most respected, most trusted person in that stadium to make that decision. Why is he not making the decision? Why is Ben Whitehouse the guy who's making the call? I mean, that's just like shaking a magic 8 ball with Ben Whitehouse. With the greatest of respect, if Ben Whitehouse was the best person qualified to make that decision, he'd be the referee out on the pitch. Christophe Ridley was the referee. I can't stop thinking that abdicating that decision to someone that isn't, well, in many cases, isn't even at the ground physically, is somewhere in a little shipping container making a decision. I'm not a big fan of that. And that's one of those things. I understand rugby's trying to speed the game up a little bit. That's where the shot clock came in, which again came back to bite Paolo Garbisi. We'd want to speed it up, but there are some times when it's okay to get a right decision, and I would allow Christophe Ridley, if he watched the big screen and couldn't make a decision immediately and said, you know what, that's borderline for me, I can't make the decision, so I'm going to get on with the game and let someone else do it, that's fine. But it was just as a matter of course, he's going, that meets the yellow card threshold, and he doesn't give an opinion on whether it's red card or not. So there you go, bunker, off you go. So that's just a small one. But yeah, it's just not clicking in attack, is it, for France? Their ball's a little bit slow. They look a bit cumbersome. There's players overrunning things, underrunning things. They're giving too many passes, not being direct enough. Is that just as simple as the players that they're missing? They now look like they're going to be missing Jalabert. So who is going to be the 10 for France? Does Ramos step up to fly half? Do they get in, what's the lad? The youngster, Carbonell or someone else? I don't know. I bet they'd like Antoine Dupont back, wouldn't they? Anyway, yeah, a penny for Dupont's thoughts. What's he going to be thinking? He's over in wherever the 7 series in Canada, and he's probably watching that on the telly thinking, what on earth? Yeah, they've got issues. Italy, defence very improved, attack error-strewn. Love the innovation though. That little fake run from the back of them all was one of my favourite moments of the game. I might well be coaching either the university team I coach or my son's rugby team. I might start bringing that one in training this week. We'll see. Oh, I just can't get over the fact Italy lost that one. Oh, there's Dupont. Yeah, penny for his thoughts. That yeah, to come back to where I started. That game would make sense, And some of the things we've seen in this Six Nations tournament would make more sense if we found out that the Netflix producers were scripting the sport that we're seeing out on the field, because otherwise it's bonkers. And I can't help thinking, I was staying with my brother-in-law yesterday in Edinburgh. He lives up there. And I said to him last night, does it make that disallowed try against France even more annoying now you've beaten England? And he said, yes, absolutely. France got out of jail last week, and you can't help feeling they've got out of jail this week as well. Tell me what you think down below. Can you make sense of France and what's going wrong? How close are Italy really to being a good team? The green shoots are there. Hopefully there's more to come. Wales fans, are you getting nervous about the last weekend? Or actually, are you feeling more positive about playing France in a fortnight and thinking, yeah, we'll take them? Interesting one, isn't it? I know as an England fan what's going to happen. France are going to be rubbish and then absolutely tonk England and put it all together for that game. Standard. Anyway, comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up. Hit subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.